What's up, everyone? Welcome to Moments with the Marcelins. My name is Jun.
And my name is Stephanie.
We are back for another week. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling better. Week by week, I feel like I'm getting back to my normal self, which is great. I'm just excited really to be back to a normal routine and things like that. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're almost in a new year. Very excited for that. I can
2 weeks away from Christmas.
I can imagine everyone is.
2 weeks? No, it's next week.
Christmas is not next week.
Yes, it's next week.
No, it's not next week. Christmas is next week. Wow.
Put up the calendar.
Christmas is next week.
2 weeks away.
Wow.
We have a lot of Christmas shopping to do, but it's okay. We're going to get to it.
Yes, we are going to get to it. So we got a lot of positive feedback from our last episode, a lot of laughs.
Yes.
And people just feeling bad for me because, you were kind of, a little rough around the edges when it came to my cooking.
I was just, I didn't want to give a false impression. And we're all about transparency, right? So I just had to bring it to the table. If you don't know what we're talking about, tune into last week's episode. Trust me, you'll have a laugh.
Well, I'm excited for today's conversation.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, we just celebrated 4 years of marriage.
Yay!
And so on this particular episode, we want to talk about 4 different lessons that we have learned in 4 years.
That's right.
So 4 representing the amount of time we've been married, been together a total of 7 years. And so we're going to talk about briefly just 4 different lessons we have learned in marriage. The first is I am responsible for my emotional and spiritual well-being. I am responsible for my emotional and spiritual well-being. And
these are in no particular order, by the way. No order of importance. They're just different facts.
Absolutely. And so what I mean by that is that I can only control how I function emotionally, how I respond to things in my relationship with Jesus. Oftentimes in relationships, you have a spouse trying to carry another spouse and they mean well and they're trying to intend. The intent is good. However, we have to understand that we cannot be Jesus. We cannot have this Messiah complex thinking that, okay, we're going to come to the rescue and we're going to come to save people. And oftentimes when we don't establish these boundaries, whether it be in a relationship, and right now we're particularly just talking about within our marriage, oftentimes what happens is you get burned out. Or you get, you feel
emotionally drained.
You feel deflated because you're trying to take the place of God and you're not allowing someone to learn and reap what it is that they have sown. What do you think about that?
I think that is so true. I know for me, early on, even when we were dating, I wanted you to fix how I felt. And that was so wrong because even though your action may have triggered the hurt in me, or whatever happened, you know what I mean? I decided to feel a certain way about it, or I ultimately was triggered to feel a certain way about it. It's ultimately my responsibility to fix my emotions. And then secondly, our relationship with Christ isn't inherited, neither by our parents nor by our spouse.
That's good.
So it's kind of I need to do my own due diligence to continue to cultivate that relationship with Jesus. You know what I mean? The closer that we walk towards Jesus, the better we are for each other. The moment that we begin to kind of slip and fall away from that, and at least it's what we found true in our lives,
Absolutely.
So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. And for singles that are listening, because oftentimes when you're single, there's in church, you're taught, okay, this is my season of preparation. I need to prepare for marriage. Yes. And while that may be true, it's just incomplete.
It is.
And if you're single listening right now, embrace and enjoy this season in your life.
That's right.
Embrace and enjoy. I think often because of not just church, but society, what we see in movies,
culture.
It's a race to see, okay, who's gonna get married first, who's gonna have children first, and it's no, really embrace that season that you are in and don't feel that pressure that because you're almost 30 and you don't have a significant other in your life that you're doing something wrong, or that something is wrong with you. No, God works with people differently. There's no manual in the script in the Bible that says, hey, by this time you should be married or have all this together. That's all, what society has pressured over us. And so, yeah, get prepared, but at the same time, understand that your singleness is not just about being prepared, and understand that it's not a marriage that's going to make you whole. A marriage is not going to make you whole.
That's right.
Like, you are responsible for your spiritual maturity and your emotional maturity. And so you can hop into a marriage and not
be mad immature
and be real immature, spiritually empty,
That's
spiritually
right.
drained. I can't count on Stephanie, and Stephanie can't count on June for our relationship with the Father. Like, we have resources, but we need to understand that the source is the Father. And so I think that is very important to understand. And that was, a great lesson, like, to understand that,
we're responsible for that ourselves.
we are responsible for that ourselves, and no person can bring that. They can help. They can, keep us accountable.
They can cheer you on.
In
your
but,
corner.
but ultimately, that decision and that responsibility solely belongs to the individual.
Yeah, because we bring that to the table. Absolutely. Which kind of goes into the second thing that I feel like we kind of learned is that you and I are on the same team. Like, we are both on the same team. Sometimes I see this with couples that we like talk to at moments that they're at odds with each other because of a situation, instead of them being on the same team against that situation. And it is so easy for me to think that you are now my enemy when I disagree, or when I am hurt, or when we don't see eye to eye on a particular situation. But if I know that you and I can both combat or overcome the situation together, knowing that you're not my enemy, but you're on my side, like, you're standing next to me, and we both can overcome this, things just look different, and we solve things differently. I know that I've been guilty of it, where there's moments where I want to attack you, or I want to come at you and not think about, like, let's just go at the problem, because the problem is not really you. It's not necessarily the person. It's something that happened. You know what I mean? It's a situation, or a circumstance. But you and I are on the same team, and we need to put each other at an advantage so that we both win. Like, one person doesn't always have to lose, because if we're both on the same team and you lose and I win, did we really win? You know what I'm saying? And so it's just being able to put each other at an advantage for our relationship, because we're both on the same team. Yeah.
It's interesting because in marriage, like you stated some earlier, and we need to, what we've learned is that let's attack the issue and not the person. And so if the issue is miscommunication or, seeking clarity, I'm not going to attack you as an individual. Let's attack the issue. I feel as though, you don't communicate. And that when we do that and we make the effort to not take our thoughts to the negativity, but really kind of put on a posture of curiosity and try to understand, okay, what did she intend? What did she mean by this? Were her intentions good? Maybe she didn't necessarily communicate that well, but her intentions were good, and we seek to understand and we seek to listen to one another. We can get further. And so that early in our relationship, like you stated before, like early in our marriage, it wasn't easy, because it was like if something was wrong or something wasn't communicated, it was because either I don't care.
Yeah, you intentionally didn't do it like that. And so I would charge it to your heart instead of charging it to your mind. That means that when we say I charge it to your heart and not your mind, is that your intention of the heart was to do that. But what actually happened was that I literally forgot. So my mind, it kind of slipped. It wasn't intentional. So don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my mind. Which leads into the next lesson that I feel like we both learned was that our body has an automated healing system, but our heart doesn't have one. So our body, our anatomy was built that if something's broken, it's going to start fixing itself automatically. You know what I mean? You have a cut, then all of a sudden, like, you know, the capillaries start, you know, forming, and then you have a scar that, you know, used to cover up that wound. Our heart, and this is not like physical heart, this is obviously your emotional heart and soul, doesn't have an automated healing system. What it does have, though, is a warning system. And that warning system is called our emotions and our feelings that are constantly flashing something at us that needs attention. And then when these signals are not addressed, there will be bigger issues. Because we will begin to suppress the warning signals that our body is giving us.
I think an example or illustration is that when we suppress these emotions, like you said, our emotions are like a jack in the box. And if you've ever visualized that or played with that when you were a child, you crank it and pop. And so our emotions are like that. And so when things remain unresolved and things are suppressed, the world is cranking the handle to that jack in the box. And just a matter of time, we can just pop, like a volcano, go crazy on someone. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Well, that's because of all these emotions that were not dealt with. To go back, also another illustration when we talk about the heart and the mind being on two different time zones is like when we watch a movie. You could sit there in the theater, watch a movie, know that movie is fiction in your mind, but however you're crying because of the emotions, you can identify that. And so the heart and the mind are on two different time zones. And so what we've learned in marriage, especially in that first year and a half when we were going through our struggle, is in my mind I was like, this event happened long ago, before we were married. It was addressed early in our marriage. By now she should be over this. But logically that makes sense. However, when things aren't addressed and the heart is not attended to, you were still on day one, even though we were almost in our second year of marriage.
Yeah. And that's how the heart isn't automatically healed just because time has passed, or just because you feel like, you kind of buried it and it's not gonna come up again. You know what I mean? Like, your heart and your emotions need to be tended to. And these are different things in marriage, or even in relationships. If you feel like, your partner, significant other is emotionally unavailable, you know what I mean? Like, talk about those feelings. Those feelings shouldn't just be ignored. You know what I mean? If you feel like you are, in this relationship putting in, not the same amount of effort, or you guys are trying to work towards goals and, you're, you know what I mean? They're not focused or whatever. Talk about those feelings. You know what I mean? If you want love and affection, like, talk about those feelings. Like, these are emotions and feelings that you should be able to feel safe enough to share. Like, your relationship should be a safe ground to bring any concern. You know what I mean? You shouldn't. And I know that there's a journey in every relationship, right? Like, every relationship goes through things. Every relationship has their ups and downs, the righteous man falls 7 times and he gets up again. Like, there's gonna be moments and situations in your relationships where you're going to fall, where you're going to trip, where it's gonna be tough. But at the very core, try to have a safe environment to share your feelings and emotions with. And if you feel like maybe at that moment your partner, your spouse, is not that person, go to someone that you can trust. Go to a leader. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Go to a pastor. Go to a mentor that has a good relationship to share these things with, and have a healthy outlet so that way they can direct you on how to have those important conversations. But don't sit with those feelings.
And the last thing is that we've learned is learning to be okay even when our spouse isn't. And for me, this was especially key because I had like I spoke on earlier, the Messiah complex, that I wanted to make sure that everything was okay. I wanted to fix everything. And there are certain things that in marriage that you can't just fix like at the snap of a finger. There are certain things that are going to take time. And, you know, there's going to be moments where you're upset with me and we don't see eye to eye. We both feel very strongly and passionate about something and neither one of us want to budge. And just having the understanding that, okay, sometimes we just need to separate, cool off, and just kind of, you know, gather our thoughts together to come back and talk about it. You know, if we're really strong or you're upset about something and you don't want to talk at that time, okay, give me a time when we can come back together and we can talk instead of just kind of like being cold or, you know, just dismissive of it. And so for me, I had to learn that when Steph is not okay, June can still be okay, even if Steph is not okay.
Yeah.
And I have to trust and know that God cares for you and loves you more than I ever could. And, you know, he's gonna do his part, but I just need to do my part. And so we try to, we have good intentions, but good intentions don't necessarily yield good results. We see each other's motions, but God sees our motives.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had to learn to be okay, even when you're not okay. And sometimes that's still a challenge, but
yeah,
I feel like, you know, over the years that I've learned that and I've learned to be okay.
And so even though you're going to have those moments where, again, you know, you may not necessarily agree with everything kind of going on at the moment, it's still important to check in or have moments where you check in with each other. And so June and I just basically say like 2 words: you good? You good. And that means, are you good emotionally, mentally, you know?
Yeah, you good, you straight. That can mean so many different things.
Exactly.
Like when you're from Florida, especially. Like, you straight? Like, are you okay? You straight? You want to fight? You straight? You hungry? And
yeah.
You know.
And that's our definition. Like, you good?
Yeah.
You good. You know what I mean? And that just kind of like is our check-in with each other. You know what I mean? Just to, again, make sure that I am being the best version of myself to you and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so those check-ins are important. And I think that maybe if it's just once a week, you know what I mean? During like pillow talk moments or whatever, or when you're talking, you know, when you're having that quality time with your, you know, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, that you have that moment to check in with them. You know, how are you doing? You know, how are you really doing?
Yeah.
You know, life is so inundated with just things, and we're all adjusting to 2020, you know, and
on top of everything that happened prior to 2020.
Right. You know, life traumas and transitions and moments of uncertainty and fears and failures and just, you know, just again, life. And it's important to just check in with each other, you know, because you know, if you're with this person, it's because you love them, you know? So it's like, what can I do to continue to be a better version of myself for you and continue to love you in the way that you need me to love you in this season, you know? Because again, life happens and sometimes we have to adjust, you know, what we're doing or what we're not doing so that way I can be more emotionally available for you in the areas that you need me to be.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that we said to each other when we got married was, as for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. You know, and that's found in scripture. And as we're talking, and another verse that kind of comes to mind is that the enemy only comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy.
Yeah.
And he's come and he's robbing so many marriages and he's destroying so many families. And so if you're married, if you're single, if you're in a relationship, pray, you know, pray for your spouse, pray for one another. Don't assume because you have a platform. Don't assume because someone has a smile that everything is okay. Check in, really have those talks, do devotion together, pray together, because, you know, like you said, we're human beings, you
Yeah.
know, we're all susceptible to temptations and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we have to be on guard, because he only comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And you might be listening right now. You say, well, I'm still alive. That may be true, but what has he robbed you of? What has he robbed you of? Has he robbed you of your joy? Has he robbed you of your peace? Has he robbed you of your comfort, of your love? And so be on guard. Be on guard. Remain in Christ's word. Find accountability. Find a community. Love on your spouse. Have those heart talks. If you don't feel safe, like you stated, find someone. Find a person that you can feel safe with, a professional that you can feel safe with. I do want to clarify that. And just be on guard. What I do love about this verse, however, is that the verse starts off with Satan, but it ends with Jesus. It says, the enemy only comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that you might have life more abundantly. Other versions say that I have come so that you can live life to the fullest. And what that means is Jesus did not die for us to simply just have salvation, die, and go to heaven. He died in order that we could live our life to the fullest capacity in which he called us to do. And we need to be reminded of that he wants us to live fully according to his purpose and his will that he has placed over our life. He never promised that it would be easy. That's a misconception that a lot of Christians get. In fact, he said that in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. He's come to rob you. He's came to kill, and he's came to destroy. But I have come so that you can have life, and that you can have life to the fullest. And so this verse starts off with Satan, but it ends with the Savior. Be encouraged by that.
So those were 4 lessons that we have learned in 4 years. It has not been an easy journey to get to where we are, but Mama made it this far, and you're just thankful to God for his faithfulness. We encourage you, you know what I mean? Like, do things together. Don't forget how you guys, got to where you are, you know what I mean? Continue to pursue each other and date each other and love each other.
Find creative ways, even in quarantine where certain things are shut down. Card games, board games, Uno, write letters, just talk, like, get creative. Like, you got to get in that bag, fellas. Get in that bag that you got into to bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all know what I'm saying. All right. And so, but have fun with one another, date each other, love each other. We're praying for y'all. We're rooting for y'all. Pray for us, root for us.
Yes.
And thank you so much for the support. Thank you for just everything.
Yes, thank you so much. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Moments with the Marcelins. 4 lessons in 4 years. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and leave a review.
And let us know what you want to talk about, because I know there's a lot that y'all want to talk about.
Yes.
Be easy, stay safe out there. Take care. God bless.
And much love.
And much love.